Phelps Mill. Today, a beautiful park in Otter Tail County. Many people know it as the location for one of rural Minnesota's largest outdoor art fairs. But Phelps Mill was at one time very important to area farmers. We asked Chris Schulke, Executive Director of Otter Tail County Historical Society, to tell us more.
When this part of Otter Tail County and Minnesota was settled in the late 19th century, the main cash crop was wheat. And so wheat was considered king. Most farmers were growing wheat. And so you had rural flour mills set up all over the place, plus the fact that there was available supply of water throughout Minnesota. Lots of meandering rivers that could be harnessed into dams. So water power plus soil where they could grow wheat, it was a great combination. And so you had flour mills in Fergus Falls, in Elizabeth, in Pelican Rapids, in Perham. All these little rural communities had flour mills. Phelps Mill was founded by a man named Thomas, and he was working in the feed business here in Fergus Falls, and he wanted to get into business himself. So he saw a great patch of the Otter Tail River where there was gently rolling rapids in Maine Township, and it was an ideal location to build a dam and then eventually a flour mill. So he chose his spot in Maine Township so he could harness the rapids along the river to build a dam that would power his flour mill. And so he named the flour mill after his wife Leona Phelps. Her maiden name was Phelps, so he called it Phelps Mill. He began operating the mill in 1889, and it was designed to produce about 60 to 75 barrels of flour a day, and it was powered by a water turbine. Farmers from around the region would come to Phelps Mill. They would bring their wagons filled with wheat, and they often had to stay overnight. So he had built a kind of a bunkhouse called a farmer's roost, and they would wait to get their wheat ground into flour, and the quality of the flour was so high and he could pay decent prices that Phelps Mill became known far and wide as a great place to bring your wheat to have ground into flour. Now historically the name is not actually Phelps Mill. It was known as the Maine Roller Mills because of the township of Maine, and roller mills because of the milling technology. The mill met with considerable success, and he built an addition onto the mill to grind buckwheat in 1905. Now that's the red part, the red siding, the red part of the mill. That is the addition that was built in 1905. Thomas eventually sold the mill, but it continued operating kind of as a grist mill until as late as 1939, and then it finally ceased operation. These little mills just couldn't compete with the big mills in Pillsbury mills in Minneapolis, the Washburn Crosby mill, and so they kind of just took away their business, and they eventually disappeared. The amazing thing about Phelps Mill is that it didn't burn down. Just about every rural flour mill around, because the dust from milling is so combustible that most flour mills eventually burn down. But Phelps Mill did not. And so it stayed standing from 1939 all the decades in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. When you go into Phelps Mill right now, you see it as it was when it opened in 1889. And that's the remarkable thing about this site, is it's been restored, but the machinery that you see is the original machinery.